moderator is Padma Shri Professor Vinod Kumar Singh. May I kindly request Professor Singh to come up on the stage? And the experts for this discussion are Professor Sandeep Verma, please kindly come up on the stage, Dr. Bhanu Manjunath, and Mr. Ajit Sharma. All of you would be kindly come up on the stage. And before we move on, I would like to take this opportunity, though we know that our chair for this session, Professor V.K. Singh, doesn't need an introduction. He is a history. But still, he is our motivation for young minds. So his biography is indeed a thing which we should recall every time and take it as a source of inspiration. So for young students particularly, kindly pay attention to his biography. Professor Vinod Singh is currently Rahula and Namita Gautam Chair Professor at IIT Kanpur. He is also Director's Chair Professor at IISER Bhopal and Adjunct Professor at NIPER Hyderabad. He is currently the President, Chemical Research Society of India and Chairperson, Governing Council of Indian Association for the Cultivation of Science, Kolkata. Born on 9 September 1959 in Anantpur, a village near Nizamabad in the district of Azamgarh, UP, Vinod Singh had his early education from his native place. He passed high school and intermediate from Wesley Inter College and BSc 1978 from DAV College, all from Azamgarh. He did MSc in chemistry from BHU in 1980 and PhD under the guidance of Dr. Shukdev from Multichems Research Center, Nandeshari, Baroda. He was conferred upon DSc by Jabalpur University in 2012. Professor Singh spent 2 years of his postdoctoral work in Canada from 1985 to 1987 at the University of Calgary and the University of British Columbia. He subsequently moved to USA to do other postdoctoral work in the period of 1987 to 1990 at Harvard University with Professor Corey, a Nobel laureate. After a brief stint as a senior scientist at the Neurogen Corporation City, USA, Professor Singh joined IIT Kanpur in 1990 as an assistant professor and eventually rose to the rank of professor. Professor Singh's research falls in the area of synthetic organic chemistry, more specifically asymmetric synthesis. He has been recognized with almost all awards and honors such as Swarna Jayanti Fellowship in the year 1998, Shanti Sharup Bhatnagar Prize 2004 and Padma Shri in 2014, among others. In addition, he has been elected as a fellow of the National Science Academy, FNA, Indian Academy of Sciences, National Academy of Sciences, and the World Academy of Sciences. He is the editor of an Elsewhere journal, Tetrahedron Letter. He is the editorial advisory board of ORGLET and JOC, Asian Journal of Chemistry and Organic Chemistry Frontiers. He has made significant contribution in the management of higher educational institutes for the country, scientific policy and planning. In 2020, he was awarded the TWAS CASAREP Award for building scientific institutions. As a founding director of IISER Bhopal, for more than 10 years, from 2008 to 18, Professor Singh set up the whole campus in 200 acres of land starting from scratch. He has served as the mentor director of IISER Behrampur, director of SPA Bhopal, and the chairman of BOG NITTTR Bhopal. He also held the additional charge of directorship of MANIT Bhopal and the mentor director of Bhopal. Professor Singh had been a member of Scientific Advisory Council to the Prime Minister during 2009 and 2014. And above all, he is an inspiration for all of us. With this, I hand over this session to Professor V.K. Singh to kindly moderate. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. It's too long an introduction. We have 45 minutes and the time starts now. The panel discussion, what I see that industry, academia, partnership, challenges and opportunities. Now, quite often people talk about industry, academia interactions. Here there is a change, a partnership. I believe it's very important thing. Quite often I hear from synthetic organic chemists, especially synthetic organic chemists, इंडस्ट्री तो सपोर्ट नहीं करती है. And they compare with the US and other countries where industry support. The question is, if somebody doesn't support, I believe we should ask question, why should industry support? Why should industry come to you? If you are able to answer the question, industry will come to you. I strongly believe that partnership is the way to go. It is very, very important. There are several ways it can be done, but I will wait till the end. There are, there were more chair. Okay. Three panelists, 45 minutes. So we'll have 2 round discussion. Of course, I would like each panelist to talk 5 to 6 minutes. Then I will give chance to audience if they have any query, if something is required. Again, each panelist will speak for a few minutes. In the end, I will give my closing remark. So maybe I'll start with, let me take a name, Dr. Bhanu Manjunath from Syngenta, Professor Sandeep Verma, IIT Kanpur, and we have Ajit Sharma from Royal Society of Chemistry. So let's start with Bhanu Manjunath.
Thank you, Professor Singh. Am I audible? Yeah, for the kind introduction. And a few words on industry academia. I think this is the 4th or 5th occasion where either panelists are involved in this discussion on what industry wants, what academia wants, and how can we get this closer to take India in terms of technology and the requirements of the future, and to meet the requirements of the future. We as Syngenta, we are running a global innovation center in Goa, and I think Indian science, the education which our students and youngsters receive is equivalent to do science at a level which is required at an international platform. I would say that very confidently because we are doing that day in, day out. The industry, if you really want to see how it is structured today, the pharma industry or the chemical industries, it's more generic based. You know, we are supplying on a generic platform most of the drugs and pharmaceuticals. When I say generic, why I'm saying that word is specifically is that the technology is already there, the chemistry is already there. But what people or the industry looking is for the technology. If you do chemistry on a bench scale and tell the industry to take this chemistry and translate, they won't accept that, according to at least my experience, because that bench scale chemistry has to really undergo a sea change before it really becomes pragmatic for the industry to translate that or manufacture that and make money. So I think this is a sort of understanding gap which is prevalent in the industry or the academia in terms of expectation. And because in IICT, when we were doing PhD under Dr. Ramarao, the same issues we had seen that industry comes with certain, give me this technology, but when you give them a paper chemistry, they would say, this is useless to me, it doesn't work. Because they really want something which can be taken on the plant batch the next day. So I think this understanding of what requirements the industry wants from an academia perspective and what science has to be showcased to sell your technology to the industry is something which requires a learning and an understanding from an academia perspective. Because the second part is the industry has no time. They want something off the shelf tomorrow to scale up and take it into production and make money. So for me, this understanding of what is the requirement of the industry, and second, if industry can show patience in terms of timelines, will help. But I'm not an expert to judge that, but this is where at least I feel, at least if you see the lectures today, the Indian academia has grown so strong in terms of fundamental science, the capabilities they have in these various institutes, and the technology at their disposal. I'm sure they can come up with much more robust scientific technology, I would say, to address industry concerns. But what the industry wants and how can we get that onto a platform to understand their requirements is might be something which we can think of, but I'll stop there and hand it over back to Dr. Singh.
Yeah, okay. Sandeep?
Thank you very much. I would take up from, taking those two phrases that Dr. Manjunath has just mentioned, that industry is there to make money and industry has no time, right? So now coming from an academic perspective, we all know that what we do in our laboratories is research. I would not call it fundamental science or applied science, just good science. And that was so clear when we heard so many lectures since morning, right? So excellent science and also the kind of impact that can be seen at the global level with high quality publications. So I have had a chance for last 4 years to look things from inside out as an academic person few years back, till few years back and now again, and also through the lens of government and, serving as an interlocutor between two parties, how people can be brought together, the academicians as well as industry, to join hands to work together. So, of course, no doubt, I totally agree with Dr. Manjunath that our chemistries are not suited directly for a process workup or process scale up. That is where I think, please forgive me, if it is little off the record, that we have not had those willing partners who would help us take chemistry to that level. Even if you take abroad, and most of us have been gone and worked in best laboratories, the way industries bring in money to academic labs without worrying about the return in the first 5 to 10 years, that is phenomenal. And there are countries run on industry sponsored research like South Korea. Samsung is dominated in its organic chemistry lab. Samsung is sponsoring. So somehow I think that notion has to be dispelled, that everything is profit or everything has to be accelerated. So because every system has its own advantages and sort of disadvantages. So having said that, I think there has never been a good handshake. And we all have been, I'm sure, processing, and Dr. Manjunath, Dr. would also agree that these panels really have brought out the pain that we all feel. But what are the solutions? So let me narrate a couple of things that have happened in recent times, and I am a beneficiary of one of them. One was this Uchchatar Avishkar Yojana. I'm sure some of you may have heard of it, and I was a beneficiary because I contacted an industry. We wrote a project together, and it was close to 1.7 crores. With industry money coming in and the academic money coming from the government side to my laboratory. But then we worked seamlessly, and I'm very happy to share that we have 2 patents, and there is a great likelihood that there will be a product, because it's not that I am good at developing a product, but that industry person, and some of you may have used a mask during COVID time, Swasa mask. I'm not sure how many of you have used Swasa mask. That company, eSpin Nanotech, we now have some very exciting patents, and we would like to take it to product level. So government has a program, or it used to have a program at Uchchatar Avishkar Yojana. That is one intervention that has happened to bring the 2 parties together. Second one, I allude to my stay at SCRB, where I found these panels where we were agonizing over the fact that the 2 parties are not coming together. And please believe me, I spent quite a bit of time studying it. And we were successful, and I would say supremely successful in creating a platform which some of you may have to look up and take advantage of, SCRB FIRE, which was Funds for Industrial Research Engagement. What we did is that we had a brainstorming session with, I invited about 15 countries, 15 companies in very many different domains. You would not believe none of the chemistry companies showed up. People who showed up were IBM, Intel, Applied Materials, GE, right? So now, after all that discussion, the one thing that came out, which was very stark, was that who is going to share the profits of intellectual engagement. So IPR was a very thorny issue, and we solved it very well. So what happened eventually is that we told them, as a blanket statement, that government will not take any profit from the IPR. And then I asked these guys, Intel, GE, as well as Applied Materials, that if you put X amount of rupees, we will put X amount of rupees. There will be a corpus of 2X. The call will be made on industry relevant problems. The control of the progress of a project will be totally controlled by a committee consisting of half academicians, half industry, right? And so on and so forth. So we laid down about 5 pages worth of MOU, and eventually you would not believe Intel gave us $2 million. Intel gave $2 million. They are in the account of SERB at the moment. You convert into rupees, SERB committed that much money to make it 2x. Intel, a foreign company holding in Bangalore, they gave us $2 million. Similarly for GE, CEO of GE, Alok Nanda, I had a video chat with him, excellent person. They committed, they said, this is such a wonderful idea. Government would put 50%. You would not take any IPR. Problems are mine. I control the progress of the project. What else do I want? And they gave, I don't want to divulge all numbers here, but they gave us quite a bit of money and Applied Materials as well. So all 3 companies, all these 3 projects are now in open domain. You can actually go and look at it. But because we are in the chemistry community, I am telling you without naming names of the companies, none of them came forward. It did not happen. So maybe during the course of these deliberations, I won't take too much time. We need to figure out what exactly got the satisfaction of Intel, GE, and Applied Materials, and what was lacking from pharma sector. And I talked to almost everybody, the way we would do by email, by calling, etc. But there is hardly any response. So perhaps they don't want R&D. That is my thing, that perhaps pharma or chemistry related companies in India are not looking at R&D. They are only manufacturing places which have little they're less on intellectual inputs, more on manufacturing, which is fine. I mean, it's not to be discouraged, but those are my thoughts. So there are possibilities, there are avenues to come together. There are frameworks that allow the best to go to these companies, including the rights for IPR, government not taking any penny, right? So that is in front of us. A revolution has to happen. But I would say squarely, as an academician and also as an experience of a funding agency, ball is in the court of industry. It is not in the court of academicians. That is a very clear message, at least to me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sandeep. I think you put several important points. So now I request Ajit Sharma to.
Sure. So thank you very much, and beautiful points suggested by both of you. During the course of the I have made some notes for myself because there was a session coming up, and for a topic like this, I think as a country, we have been deliberating over it from, I don't know, last n number of years. This constant conversation goes on and on and on without anyone taking up a stand or without anyone taking up a call on what to do in terms of next steps and how do we stay together to kind of give it a longevity to the program. So broadly, I think I will forward the 5 notes that I have noted down and open to the group and the audience to kind of say whether it makes sense or not. So I think we are in a very clear need to develop a platform for the industry academia dialogue for mutually impactful collaboration. Now this discussion on who will earn the profit, who will earn the profit. The classic example is, traffic jam on the road, who will go first? Nobody goes first. You get stuck in a lockdown and you do not go anywhere. So there has to be a system, agreed upon system that, okay, in 2 minutes, 30 seconds, this side will go green and they will move. In the next 2 minutes, 30 seconds, the other side will go green. So some sort of a rotating profitability model. However, finance is not the question. The question is, how do you develop the partnership in a sustainable model? And also, it's very important to prioritize and the indigenous research with an understanding of the dynamic landscape, because industry is evolving every day. And so the keywords which I could note from the various speakers who spoke today was the viability of the product or technology and the commercialization part of it. And how can we do it? In academia, we are very, very focused on developing of the product. Once the product is identified, a vial is created, what happens to it? There is no marketing solution. There is no academia. I cannot expect somebody to develop a marketing force to promote a specific thing. So if you have the best developed secret or the best developed compound, it remains the best kept secret because it never gets to see the landscape in the larger framework. Second is creating and building a culture of innovation among the academics who are going to work with the industry for addressing the societal challenge. I think it has to be inculcated in our curriculum right from the beginning. We study very good physics, chemistry, biology, mathematics, and various other subjects. But what about the innovation, and what is the definition of innovation? The creating awareness piece, where the capacity building among the research students to deliver the product-oriented solution, is another piece which I thought is, so there's no one-party solution to this. Industry as well as academia both have to own up to these solutions. The fourth point that I wanted to bring forward here is many corporates are Indian, many corporates are foreign by their roots. So I'm saying that all the corporates, whether it is Tata by the definition being Indian, Royal Society of Chemistry by definition being a UK, or some other organization which is by definition being a US organization, I think we should bring this culture at an international level. It is not true that Indian academics are facing a challenge in terms of their relationship with corporate and UK or US students are having a great time. No, they are facing equally good or equally bad situation that there is. There's a lot of challenges at their end too. So I think we have to stand up. And why should we wait for somebody else to take that stand? Why can't we raise to the occasion, take a mutual stand, and create a benchmark for other countries to follow? Last but not the least, I think enhancing the outreach of academia's knowledge, resource, and the leverage of knowledge capability for addressing the local and the global problems is something that has to be brought with full conviction. There is a lot of potential in the labs of academia and this group, if this group doesn't know, who will know? This is the most impactful platform. So I think there is a clear-cut case for bringing that strength to the fore. Maybe government needs to be involved, and as an industry body, professional body, we are ready to be the bridge between the government as well as to the academia and the corporates. But I think we need to come to a conclusion on what do we want to do. And I kind of rest my submission here for all of you to consider. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ajit. You brought few points, and most of the points are quite relevant. Of course, mutual cooperation is needed. I would like audience to give some input, question, anything anybody want to say. Yes.
Though I started in industry and moved into academia. So I think two things is very clear. Industry doesn't trust the chemist in India. Okay, that's much I got it. Okay, they doesn't feel that the chemistry will translate, the word I am using, translate into a product development. Okay, that is the one things. And another things is coming up, that is Professor Verma said very clearly. See, the other industry has funding, but it is not the pharma industry is not funding. Because that is very clear from Dr. Bhanu that in in our country, almost all pharma business on the generics and no new product development. It is mostly the process chemistry which we lead, and couple of industry which are basically supplying as a CRO companies, and some companies are basically making the impurities for the foreign companies. So the chemistry, what they want from the academia, that balance is not coming. And that's why no collaboration. If today also I put something to them, I ask them, there is no buyers. Trust me, today. Even from my industry own connections, I tried many people to tell, looks, these are the chemistry I am trying. They have no trust, zero trust, that it can deliver that levels, okay? So that's I observed, starting from Dr. Reddy's, from Lupin's, from any other tech, any big companies today in India. So even not the fine chemicals company, which basically all our products, today morning onwards, we are seeing all very good chemistry, structure, tetracyclic, but you go and ask them, do you buy it? No. That is the product. That is they want, so now the time has come, the organic chemistry has to be engineered. That's what my observations after working industry and academia. So that level we have to bring the chemistry today, the organic synthesis, particularly when concerned. So my request here, so when we are developing, suppose today we are doing borylation of these things, very fantastic everywhere today. So can we engineer the organic synthesis to go to a pilot plant or lab scale, and then bring the trust and supply to the industry? They will be very much ready to buy this product because they are just getting it product, multigrams, and sell it into this product. So your product is very viable that time. But when you go with a paper and, oh, I have a fantastic publication, there is no buyers. That's I feel it, and many people are feeling in this country. So there, the bridge gap we have to find it out, and we have to figure it out.
Brief, and also I forgot, you should identify yourself so that others know who are.
Okay, sorry. Myself is Partha Sarthi. Presently I am at IIT Dhanbad. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Partha Sarthi. Anyone else from audience? Yeah. Sujit.
Experiences. When I was in IICT, I had and that I did properly. Students also live that way. And we could successfully capture that planning. That time I understood how difficult these things. Remove water, that itself was a big challenge. Backward, they said that, my God, you are making, you are using a table with 10 gram. I want to come backward, think about it for the scale. They almost just to solve that problem. So, my whole team had got at least 20 months. But we had to do it because I was in IIT. This is one experience that tells that we have to also understand what level that industry see. They want to see all unit operations. Perhaps we forget that. I moved to a goal. I had I applied because of my industry. I applied industries. And Gas Authority of India will gave me good amount of money. Convert the junk from the distilleries of petrochemical to something else. I was very diligent. My group was very diligent because they gave a lot of money. Successfully did part of it and gave them payment. After that, their management changed and the entire project was shut down. This is a PSU. I thought it will continue and sitting with us for more number of time because we did not take anything. It was there. It was there. I don't know why. Even at PSU level, the trust is not.
Okay. Thank you, Sujit.
So these are two things from which we can perhaps learn something.
Yeah. Okay, so Devashish, be very brief, 2 minutes.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So I'm Debashish from IT Roorkee. I just want to share a few things. I think Professor Sandeep Verma and Professor B.K. Patel also involved in that one. I just briefly, because recently India government started DST India one, and, the Self-Reliance India program. And they have made some 5 different clusters involving many IITs and some initial these labs also. And their main motto of these, they identify some APIs and some molecules. So I'm also leading this IIT Roorkee thing. They have already identified some of the molecule which they are supplying in raw material from China. But now they want to make it in kilo scale. And I think it is a very good initiative that India government is giving, and I think they have given also they have identified the molecule, and it was a quite long session discussing. I think from March it is going on, and now it is in a final stage. So every institution, whoever identified, they have need to synthesize 1 or 2 molecule, and it will be going to ultimately a kilo scale. And they are also trying to inviting many industries, like we have, I think Professor Sandeep Verma was there in this meeting also. And now in our cluster, I think there are Himachal cluster, Professor B.K. Patel is mentor. So he also knows the little bit, the details also. And we are trying to make it in a kilo scale and involving many industries. So this is just my submission. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Devashish. Anyone else?
I am Mandar from Elsevier, was with Bristol Myers Squibb for almost 11 years. I have 2 comments here, particularly one Professor Dr. Bhanu mentioned about the scale-up one. But there is also a part where the drug discovery happens or the molecules are bioactive. There is a lot of chemistry. I saw Professor Akhilesh Verma showed the deuteration. Rodney has come up with the synthesis parts, and there are a few more whose compounds are really good. The problem is what I felt when being in industry and the knowledge transfer to academia is that academia also can reach out to the industry to understand what exactly they need to modify in their compounds. Maybe it's application part towards activity or application to the material science or whatever it is, or the scale up part, that what exactly needs to be fixed in that particular process to make it more scalable. The problem is that, again, this is problem what in personal relation, what I found it is that there is no reach out to the industry partners that what they need to develop in that one. I give you 2 examples here. Working with Elsevier, I have been talking to many professors. Professor Ashok Sharon, he's selling his compounds to a Japanese companies at $16,000 per year, earning out of it. Professor Ram Shastri is selling his compounds to Bayer. So it's not that it is not happening. The problem is that what exactly needs to be done. We are synthesizing fantastic chemistry. I'm looking at the chemistry, but it's 4 or 5 rings at in a molecule. It is not going in a way which is there. So if that knowledge transfer happens, that what exactly it needs to do a modification part in a particular molecules, we already have the chemistry established with the quality of scientists we have, and then the partnership will grow. That's the thought process I have.
Yeah, thank you. Anyone else?
They develop some technology, and the problem, the European are supposed to have academia. How much money you want? We suggest much given. When you want the product, it was required yesterday. How can academia work and give the product overnight or in a week time or a month? Academia thinks that if we develop the product, we will get. And if they into the industry that we make the changes, we improve the yield, and your technology is not working. This is where the problem is there. Suggestion is that industry should get those projects which are the future projects, and academia should be given a sufficient time so that they can develop a technology a good level, and then there should be a person who should work technology transfer from the lab, and once it goes to pilot plant, then the industry should stay.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Any student wants to say anything? At least one student from both genders. No one? Okay, so maybe I'll request panelists to say 1 or 2 minutes if anything left they want to say. Start with Ajit now.
Sure. So I thought that, we understand what is required to be done. We understand what needs to be done, both from the industrial perspective as well as from the academic perspective. I think it's time for us to, come forward, create a group, identify areas where the action needs to be taken, because nobody else will come and solve our problem. The second thing that I want to highlight here is that we are often linked or restrict ourselves to pharmaceutical sciences or drug discovery and this and that. Trust me, I can challenge you, give me an industry which does not use chemistry, and you will be really looking left and right to find that specific industry. Irrespective of what paint, perfume, wine, I mean, you name it, chemistry is an important aspect of it. So why are we still stuck up with the, drug discovery? And so job creator versus need a job. I think there is a differentiator. We need to, instead of looking for needing a job, we should look into the job creator mindset. Start up small. You are no less than any of those IT computer science graduates. You have everything set with you. Identify what are the areas that you can help with, and then just start earning. That's how it works. You need to take the first jump of trust. Okay, so I will rest here. Over to
Sandeep.
I go back to my earlier arguments and what Devashish just pointed out. These 5 corridors, pharmaceutical corridors, again, government had to pitch in, right? I mean, even if you call it self-reliance, Atmanirbhar, making API, fearful of China, supply chain, everything taken into consideration boils down that the investment in our future is going to be through public money, and that is what is happening. If you talk about anything, I mean, so that is where my problem is, and I am quite perplexed. Parthasarathi just pointed out that, you make a little amount of compound, but they need pilot scale. Please tell me, maybe I am ignorant, how many pilot scale plants for conversion have been put in industry in academic units? Buddhadev is here, Nitin Patil. Don't you feel that their catalysts have significant value? Who would give them a pilot scale plant? Even if you want a finished product, which can be at a kilo scale, who would put that pilot plant in Buddhadev's lab? Whose responsibility is it is? It is, then again, it boils down to this some vague notional pharmaceutical corridors, which eventually, like all other, programs, after a couple of years, you would not know that where the to come from, right? So I think it's an intractable problem. We can think, we should remain optimistic, but unless there is a commitment, so there are 2 set of partners here. One, which I would like to say with a pinch of salt, that those guys who have more time to generate ideas, who have more pair of hands in terms of really committed PhD student postdocs who want to do things. So you have more, and you have a blend of facilities in an institution which is unparalleled, at least in the context of Indian industries. I mean, it could be whichever, I'm not pinpointing towards an industry, right? And there is another party which is looking for profits, looking for commercial sales, and has deep pocket, right? So where the twain are going to meet, east is east, west is west, where the twain shall meet. So who's going to bell the cat? Who's going to make the pilot plant? Who's going to give away their future projects? Because again, someone pointed out, you give them future projects so that they can work. Are they willing to confide in us? What is their plan for next 3 to 5 to 10 years? Can you start working now? Exactly. That's what I am going to bat till I retire for academia, because we are good people. We have capabilities. Our students are the best and the brightest, yet we have not been given enough encouragement from the industry side. It could be synthesis, pharma, just 30 seconds. BHEL came to SCR. BHEL then asked me, can we invest in their research? Can BHEL scientists or engineers, can they write project for SCRB? It is ludicrous, unbelievable. I finished the meeting in 10 minutes. So I think Dr. Manjunath and such leaders have to tell us that why can it not happen? And why, I mean, I would not accept, I'm going to bat for the academia side, that, you guys don't deliver, you are slow, who will give us pilot? I mean, make the plant in my lab. Give Buddhadev a sort of 1,000 kilogram pilot plant. He will deliver. Why not? Nitin, he will deliver. Why not? Right? So this conversation will end, but the thoughts will linger on, and solutions are not on the horizon, in my opinion. Unless, again, the government chips in some corridor, some Atmanirbhar, and so eventually it is taxpayers' money. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Sandeep. There's no doubt what Sandeep mentioned, that whenever there is such problem, it so happened that only government chips in. There's no doubt about it. And of course, industry and academia both have to be responsible. There's a problem of critical mass, but we'll come back to the conclusion in the end. I would like Bhanu Manjunath to say a few things.
Thank you,
Something is left.
See, interesting conversation, but let me put two perspectives, especially we are talking of the pharma industry. 1990 or 85 to 2010 was a golden period for pharma research, in a sense, where 150 odd molecules were going off patent, and we were a growing industry. The pharma industry invested a lot of R&D, a lot of reverse engineering. We became pioneers. We grew the industry to what it is today. But one also has to understand what has happened from a regulatory perspective, what has happened from a patent perspective in this scenario. Now, if you look from a 2005 patent treaty which we signed, we cannot reverse engineer any new molecule post 2005, right? Any molecule which has a patent of 2005 Jan 01, we cannot work on those molecules anymore. Earlier, before that date, the pharma industry was free to practice the chemistry, free to launch it in the country, and free to do anything they want within the country before they export to a regulated market post-patent expiry. But since we have signed a patent treaty, the industry cannot touch those molecules. So today, all the new molecules or new drugs which you are enjoying in the market or which are come post-2005 are all on contractual basis. We are just a CDMO for those companies, or we are doing co-marketing with those international companies, but we are not in a position either to synthesize them or develop the chemistry or whatever you want. Part one. That's reality, actually. And that's why you see spend in R&D in pharma is actually stagnant or going down. The second part is the market. Whatever technology we have developed over the years, if I want to change it today, it will take me 10 years before I realize the potential of that incremental change I'm going to get. Right? If I'm doing a series of 5-step synthesis and you say, I'll give you a 4-step synthesis, but for that efficiency to sink in as a business model will take a couple of years and a lot of upfront payment to FDA and other things. Another big blocker for the pharma industry. So we have to be sometimes cognizant of the regulatory changes and the patent changes which are happening to the industry as a whole. Now, what I see, now we are a very strong manufacturing country. But what's happening in the manufacturing sector today is revolutionary with the advent of digitization, the advent of technology, AI, you name it. What's going to happen and what's in the manufacturing today and in the next 10 years is something I think many of us even don't foresee what's going to happen. Flow technology or green science, sustainable science, which has different connotations. How do we make chemicals? And this is an avenue which I think in the see today, in the Indian academia, we're not even looking at that space. We are looking in bits and pieces, whereas the industry is already reaching to external partners for R&D in that space. right? If you take flow technology today, all the big pharma companies are reaching out to external partners to do R&D for them and get it scaled up. Now, why is that? We have to ask a question, right? Because that is the requirement of the industry, and the market is going to demand that technology tomorrow. So why are we in the country not capable of providing the support to the industry? And the industry is not even coming to academia to ask for their support. But that is the gap, because technology is changing, requirements are changing, and industry is seeking support from outside, external again. So how do we, for me, that's a very critical question to answer. I think I'll rest my.
Yeah, thank you, Bhanu Manjunath. I think I like to conclude. Our three panelists, they had views, and all the views were relevant. For example, Bhanu Manjunath mentioned about time issue with industry and money and the patent issue and other things. Sandeep Verma mentioned about, of course, that is the chemical industry which is not coming forward. He has experience, which I have privy to the knowledge what he had. He created a system where industry and government can keep money, and that can be used for joint research. And Ajit Sharma mentioned about this enhancing academic knowledge in the interest of industry, and even the research students involving for the development, culture for work at international level, etc. And audience also, they had some views. What I believe that our critical mass in academia is less, so in industry also. I have personal experience that one thing I see in our country, nobody cares about time. And in life, time is the most precious thing. I have experience in late 90s or early 20th century, this around 2000, when a lot of CROs work was going on in India, lot of money from US and all that coming. And people were apprehensive about one fear they had, which is very common in India, that people take project and don't deliver. I'm talking about industry. So industry cannot blame academia that they are not delivering. There is no trust in that, because one common feature is money. They think they are working for money. I think people have to rise above money part. Difficulty in academia is critical mass is less. The lab condition is poor. Somebody mentioned about the condition lab. If you follow international norms, I'm sure most of the academic lab will be locked and closed. Okay. This is the thing, and this is the reason that to solve the problem, we had the industry academia conference under the umbrella of NOST. It was held recently in IT Bombay, and it was quite successful. It was a forum for people to talk about it. Few people from academia industry came. People talked about, I agree what Sandeep mentioned about pilot plant is too big a thing. Before pilot plant and discovery, there is something called scale up. Even that is not there in academia. And no academician has money to create it. It has to come from somewhere. And I strongly believe that's not possible. Nowhere in the world, I cannot actually guarantee it. Most of the time, I have not seen anywhere pilot plant a scale-up facility in academia. It has to be done in the industry R&D lab. Also, somebody mentioned, which I strongly agree, that most of our chemical industry, I knew what Sandeep mentioned, that except chemical companies, other companies gave money, but chemical companies are silent because they are happy, paid full have. When you give too much food, people don't work sometimes. So they are happy, they have a generic drug, make compound, make money, and they don't need academia. So what I believe, at the same time, I have a little problem with our academic people also. That if they take any project, they have to be honest, they have to deliver, number one. Number two, they also have to, somebody mentioned about it, I think they also have to go to industry, so the industry should know what they are working on. So the mutual thing is needed, and the partnership, the word partnership is important. It will not happen unless somebody industry is associated with your academia. Of course, it's not there in Western countries because communication and transportation, everything is so smooth. You can work anywhere without noticing much change. But here, when you go from Kanpur to Bombay, you will find a big change. So what I believe that both the parties, academia and industry, they have to understand each other. Such forum, conferences, more and more industry people should come and attend, listen to the talk. And it is not that our academia is poor, but their hands are restricted. Money is less, manpower, they don't have secretarial help. And all those things are there. And it's a very complex problem. It is not easy that we can solve in 45 minutes. We have to keep on talking, but slowly and slowly something will work out. Okay, so I'd like to thank all the panelists. It's wonderful. And I thank the organizer for giving chance to me and other panelists to share their views. Thank you very much. Time is up. It's 47 minutes.